I'm pretty sure most gamers have heard about Subnautica, but in the case that you haven't, Subnautica is an underwater alien planet survival adventure game, and it is horrifying. If you don't already have thalassophobia, this game will give it to you, hard and fast. This game dominated YouTube from its early access stages in 2014 until its full release in 2018. Still, now, there are full YouTube channels dedicated to only Subnautica. Videos of the base game, challenges, mods, challenges of how long can you survive in this mod and that mod. It's honestly still thriving, the community. There was technically a DLC turned sequel that I personally loved called Subnautica Below Zero. However, was not generally well reviewed by other people, so I'm going to talk about that in another video. However, in the event that an actual sequel is being released in the coming year, 2026, because I forgot it's New Year's Day, I figured I'd talk about this and see if the sequel is actually going to live up to the original. In order to answer that question, we need to step back and take a look at what made the original game so special. The atmosphere of Subnautica is unmatched, with beautiful environments rivaling even modern-day games, despite the fact that it was released all the way back in 2018. And the unforgettable music and ambient sounds make the game not just atmospheric, but fully immersive in a way that most games hardly ever capture, really. Yes, I'm using a lot of big fancy words to make myself sound cool. Stop judging me, please. This game's attention to detail is honestly hard to comprehend. There are over 300 PDA entries explaining everything from plant life to animal life to geography of the planet to character storylines, everything you can think of. There's an explanation for why a playable game area ends.
Warning, entering ecological dead zone. Adding report to databank.
They thought of all the details, and they gave you an answer that makes sense. And keep in mind, this is an alien planet, so they had to invent biology for hundreds of creatures, and it's honestly really special how much attention was put into it. The story is thrilling and engaging and full of mystery, but they don't do any hand-holding, which makes discovering the secrets and the mysteries all the more exciting. It amplifies that feeling of exploring the unknown. The creature design is done astonishingly well, and it makes it all that more terrifying, which is exactly why when thalassophobia is discussed, this is the game that is brought up, because it is just that terrifying. And the vast oceanic biomes, just the whole package is, when it's all combined together, it makes a game that it's very unique. There is no other games that are like Subnautica, and that's how you kind of know that a game is truly special. It's not a repetitive trope, which tropes that are repeated a lot can be good, but when something's so unique that nothing else really comes close, that's how you know you've got something special. Now, with all that being said, let's talk about the sequel. So the only thing we really have to go off of is the trailers, so that is going to be the source of the information that I'm talking about here. The oceanic environments that are seen in the trailers seem to be vibrant and colorful and have a lot of attention to detail, which of course is a very good first sign. In the trailers, there is a large emphasis on the motherfucking giant squid, which is terrifying if they do it right. Hell, even if they don't do it right, honestly, I don't think I'm going to cope with that very well. Like, oh my god. I didn't mention this yet. I have crippling thalassophobia, and the thought of this is distressing to me. The game takes place on a planet called Sisra, so it's a different planet, and it takes place after 14 years of hypersleep on the ride over from wherever the hell you came from. The big corporation in the game universe is still Altera, which tells me probably not that much time has passed, or Altera just is an everlasting big corporation, which I guess isn't that far off from reality. And on top of all of this, the game is going to be multiplayer, which is a feature that was highly requested throughout the entirety of the original game. There is a multiplayer mod for the first game, but if the If the multiplayer is being done officially implemented, from my understanding, even in the early access, this is going to be available maybe, that's going to be a game changer because it's something that everyone has been wanting for so long. And it's obvious why that's appealing, because you can get terrified and survive with your friends. And also, I have a feeling it's going to be really jank and buggy in the best way possible, kind of like, to the point where it's going to be like hilarious, like Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, Dying Light, those games where it has a multiplayer feature like that. Well, no, Security Breach doesn't have a multiplayer feature, but I'm referencing the glitchiness, the funny glitches and that sort of thing. So all of this is great, right? Well, yes. I have no reason to think that this game is going to fail. I like to be generally very optimistic about things. That's the whole reason why I hate critics, right? Because they kind of look for things to be upset about, and their whole purpose, it's like they find enjoyment out of not liking things, and I don't like being negative about that. If I even have a little bit of a reason to like something, I usually focus on that more than what I didn't like. However, there are a few things that are worrisome about Subnautica 2, and I will talk about those right now in simplified terms. Feel free, of course, to do your own research, but I'm going to give you the basic necessary information. So the developers of Subnautica were bought out by a large game company called Krafton. And essentially, I think what happened is they gave them a deadline to get the early access released, and they promised them a large cash bonus if they were able to do this. And the way I've heard it, and I could be very misinformed, but I believe what happened is they essentially purposefully delayed the game to avoid paying Unknown Worlds their bonus, and then fired them when they got angry about this. Now, I like I said, this could be misinformation. I might have not paid attention well enough. I have ADHD, if you guys couldn't tell from the way I exist in my previous videos. If I'm incorrect, I apologize, but I believe that's sort of the type of situation that is going on. I believe Unknown Worlds is suing Krafton, but they're fired, which, for obvious reasons, I mean, I have no reason to think that. Actually, wait, no, I take that back. The only thing that worries me about that is the 3 people that got fired from Unknown Worlds are lead developers at Unknown Worlds Entertainment that played a crucial role in the development of the first and second game. So now that they're gone, it's very possible that the game's going to take a drastically different direction, as well as, since Krafton is a large games company, are they going to add a shit ton of microtransactions? Are they going to do things that make this game not special in the way that the original Subnautica was, and instead make it like every other big, large developer or large publisher game? From what I can tell from the trailers, the gameplay seems fun. I've seen you see the return of things like the scanner, which looks almost identical to what it used to look like. This weird cannon thingy that possibly is an evolution of the repulsion cannon or propulsion cannon, but it looks really fun to use. Really interesting creatures, it looks like. I think the idea of the giant squid has massive potential if they do it right. I think the only way that they could majorly screw up the giant squid is if they limit it to being in cutscenes. If it is a cutscene creature, that is going to really ruin it for me. That's going to take away the thalassophobia a lot from the situation. Because for me, in games, the scariest thing is free roaming monsters, or for the free roaming enemies. Whatever the enemy is in whatever horror game you're playing. I know it's not technically a horror game, but that's the whole thing. It's meant to be like thalassophobia, right? Free roaming enemies are very scary to me, and just being chased out of nowhere while you're playing is perhaps one of the most thrilling things. The most thrilling thing about Subnautica is running into a Leviathan out in the open, especially when you're a new player and you don't know that's going to happen. With the Kraken in this game being such a big focus, like if it's a large story element, I'm worried that it's going to be locked to cutscenes, which, once again, that would be a very that seems like a very common feature for games that are made by large publishers, because they focus a lot on cinematics and making it more like a movie than a game. That's a very common characteristic, I feel like, of larger budget games. A lot of cutscenes, a lot of all that sort of stuff. I hope that the Kraken is a free roaming Leviathan, or at the very least, I guess I wouldn't care if it was like a. It's gotta be. I think if it's anything other than a really big roaming giant squid, I feel like it's gonna hamper the experience a little bit. So overall, I think this game has very big potential. The problem is if these. So Unknown Worlds is still the developers. I want to make that very clear. But the publishers is Krafton, the large game company. They're the publisher now, and the publishers have a lot of influence over the developers in these sort of situations, as far as my understanding. I hope they don't focus too much on the wrong things, because if they focus too much on the wrong things, it's going to not be what it was. I can almost guarantee that it will be good if they can just focus on the right things. If they improve upon what made the first game good, I'd love to see a variety of biomes. One thing I think we didn't have enough of in the original Subnautica was like, I would love a bigger map and more vast. Maybe this is gonna be a hot take. I want more vast open ocean areas, like some of the concept arts from the original Subnautica, and then sprinkled in there is the more well-done, handcrafted, smaller biomes. Like, I think, of course, a lot of the biomes focused on the scenery of them. I would love some more barren ocean landscape. I think that would increase the thalassophobia effect even more. If they've got a bigger map and they can do that, of course, that would be cool to me. Obviously, more Leviathans, more. I hope that giant squid is not locked into cutscenes, because if that is an actual Leviathan, that's going to be crazy. Or even maybe just a dead zone creature. Whatever the case, they need to get that right, because they're putting a lot of emphasis into that in the trailers. And finally, if they can make the gameplay and progression satisfying like they did in the original game. There was a very good progression flow to the first game. Like, you make progress and it just keeps going up and up and up. If they can nail all of that, I think the answer to the question that I posed at the start of this video is yes. I think it has all the potential in the world to live up to the original. I think that it's a 50-50 shot. As long as Krafton doesn't ruin things, I think that it's going to be a good game. And those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy the next one even more. Thank you so much for watching.